It began like any other day, but for Freen, it was a moment that would change everything. A quiet afternoon turned into an unforgettable memory when Becky arrived, holding a key wrapped in a small red ribbon, the kind of gesture that spoke louder than any words ever could. Freen looked at her, confused yet smiling, unaware of the surprise waiting just outside. And then, with that signature grin, Becky said softly, "You've driven us this far. Now let me take you the rest of the way." Outside the studio, a sleek, pearl-white car gleamed under the soft light, a luxury vehicle parked with care, surrounded by subtle decorations and a few close friends who knew what was about to unfold. But it wasn't just any car. This was Becky's gift, one that carried more meaning than any brand or price tag could define. The car represented something deeper: gratitude, love, and every unspoken word she hadn't been able to say over the years. Freen stood frozen, her hands trembling slightly as she covered her mouth, tears welling in her eyes. "Becky, you didn't have to," she began, her voice breaking. But Becky stopped her gently, saying, "I wanted to. Because everything I am today started with you." Those words echoed in the air, and everyone around could feel the sincerity in Becky's tone. This wasn't about showing off or making headlines. This was Becky's way of saying thank you for the patience, for the friendship, for the love that had been quietly growing behind the scenes all these years. People often see the glamorous side of their partnership, the red carpets, the fan meets, the perfect smiles. But behind it all were years of sacrifice, misunderstandings, and moments where they had to put their bond second to their careers. Freen had always been the steady one, guiding Becky through the storms, reminding her of who she was when the fame got overwhelming. And now, Becky wanted to give something back, something that reflected just how much that meant to her. Freen walked toward the car slowly, her reflection shining in the polished surface. Inside, she noticed something taped to the dashboard, a handwritten note in Becky's familiar handwriting. It read, "Every road you take from here, I hope you know I'll always be beside you." At that moment, Freen couldn't hold back her tears. The cameras around them captured it all, but it wasn't for publicity. This was real, raw emotion from two people who had built their connection on trust, understanding, and love that ran deeper than anyone truly knew. When the video of that moment surfaced online, it immediately went viral. Fans all over the world were left speechless, not just by the luxury of the gift, but by what it symbolized. The car wasn't just a grand gesture, it was a representation of Becky's journey, of how far they'd come together. Some fans noticed small details that made the gesture even more meaningful. The license plate number, for instance, contained a combination of digits that corresponded to their debut year, the year Freen and Becky's paths first crossed on set. The car's interior featured custom embroidery, tiny stars stitched into the seats, symbolizing the countless nights they'd spent rehearsing, supporting, and believing in each other when no one else did. The public reaction was overwhelming. Fans flooded social media with messages like, "This isn't just a gift, it's a love letter on wheels," and Freen and Becky proved that love is about effort, not extravagance. Even fellow celebrities couldn't help but comment on how touching and heartfelt Becky's gesture was. But beyond all the attention, there was a quiet truth that only the two of them shared. Becky had spent months planning this surprise, saving, designing, and customizing everything down to the smallest detail. It wasn't about money. It was about creating something lasting, something that would remind Freen every day of how much she meant to her. That evening, when all the cameras were gone and it was just the two of them again, Freen looked at Becky and whispered, "You've always had a way of turning ordinary moments into something unforgettable." Becky smiled softly and replied, "That's because you've always been the reason I try." And there it was, a love story that had evolved quietly behind the scenes, built not on grand gestures alone, but on mutual respect, shared dreams, and unwavering support. The car was just a symbol. The real gift was the journey they'd taken together, the bond that no rumor or fame could ever shake. As the night drew to a close, Becky leaned against the car, watching Freen run her hand along its edge, lost in thought. "It's beautiful," Freen finally said. "Not as beautiful as you," Becky teased, making Freen laugh through her tears. Fans might see the luxury, the headlines, the viral clips, but what truly mattered was what happened off camera. The way Becky looked at Freen, the gratitude in her eyes, the warmth that filled the silence between them. Because sometimes the most powerful gifts aren't about what you give, they're about what they mean. And for Freen and Becky, that meaning was everything. After the surprise went viral, Freen and Becky's world changed overnight. The moment that began as a private exchange of love and gratitude became the headline of every major entertainment outlet across Asia. Fans were in awe, but the intensity of the attention was something even they weren't ready for. Every social media feed was flooded with clips of Freen's tearful reaction, Becky's shy smile, and that line that everyone couldn't stop quoting, "Because everything I am today started with you." Those words had become a declaration, one that many saw as the closest thing to a public confession yet. But behind the sweet smiles and glowing headlines, Freen and Becky knew they were walking a fine line. Fame had never been kind to personal truth, and as much as they wanted to celebrate their happiness openly, they also understood the scrutiny that came with it. Still, for once, neither of them wanted to hide. In the days following the surprise, fans noticed how different they seemed together. Freen appeared softer, lighter, her usual calm presence now glowing with something warmer. Becky, on the other hand, couldn't stop smiling. During an interview a few days later, when the host casually brought up that viral gift, Becky's cheeks flushed instantly. "It was something I wanted to do for a long time," she said, glancing at Freen with that unmistakable tenderness. "She's always been my anchor." Freen didn't say much. She never had to. Her gentle look toward Becky spoke louder than words. That moment alone sent fans into a frenzy. People clipped it, replayed it, and wrote captions like, "If love had a face, it would look like this." But not everyone celebrated their bond. Some critics accused Becky of using the gesture as a publicity stunt, claiming that the timing of the surprise, right before a major event, was too convenient. Others said Freen looked too emotional, that maybe the gesture caught her off guard in a way she wasn't ready for. Despite the noise, Freen remained quiet. She didn't respond to the criticism. She never needed to. A week later, she posted a photo on her social media. No caption, no tags, just a simple picture of the car Becky gave her, parked under a soft sunset. The reflection in the window revealed two hands intertwined. That one silent image silenced everything else. From that point, something shifted. Freen and Becky no longer appeared to be avoiding the questions that used to make them uncomfortable. Instead, they faced them with quiet confidence. They started showing up to events together more often, side by side, smiling, laughing, unbothered. Fans started noticing how natural it felt, as if they were finally done pretending. Then came the interview that changed everything. During a live appearance, a host asked Becky directly, "What does Freen mean to you?" For a moment, the room went still. Becky looked down, hesitated, then said, "She means home." That simple line broke the internet all over again. For days, fans trended hashtags like #BeckyFreenHome and #FreenBeckyForever. It wasn't about confirming or denying anymore. It was about two people choosing honesty over fear, connection over appearances. Behind the scenes, though, Becky worried. The attention was massive, and she didn't want Freen to feel pressured or overwhelmed. One night, while sitting on the balcony overlooking the city lights, she confessed her worry. "I didn't mean for all this to become so big," she said softly. Freen turned to her and smiled. "That's what love does, Becky. It grows, even when we're not trying to make it." Those words stayed with Becky. For the first time, she understood that what they had was no longer just a quiet friendship behind the curtain. It was something powerful enough to inspire others, something real enough to survive the spotlight. Weeks passed, and the noise began to fade. The headlines slowed down, but the story remained, not because of the luxury car or the viral moment, but because of what it represented. In a world obsessed with perfection, Freen and Becky's story was imperfectly human. It was about showing up, about small gestures that meant everything, about love that didn't need a label to be understood. As time went on, they continued supporting each other's careers. When Freen had a major shoot, Becky sent flowers, always the same white ones, a quiet reminder of that first gift. And when Becky had her own big day, Freen would appear, often unseen at first, quietly cheering from the crowd. They had found their rhythm again, not as stars caught in the spotlight, but as two souls moving in sync. Months later, during an award ceremony, Freen took the stage to receive an honor for her latest project. Her speech was graceful, heartfelt, but what caught everyone's attention was how she ended it. To the person who taught me that love isn't about showing off, but about showing up, thank you. She didn't name anyone. She didn't need to. Becky, sitting in the audience, wiped away tears that the camera caught in perfect clarity. That night, as they left the venue hand in hand, the flash of cameras followed them. But for the first time, neither looked away. They had faced the rumors, the doubts, the endless speculation. Now, all that remained was truth. Their love story had started in secrecy, grown in silence, and blossomed in the open. The gift may have been the spark, but the real treasure was what came after, a bond that endured everything fame could throw at it. Because in the end, it was never about the car, the headlines, or the approval of millions. It was about two hearts that found the courage to be seen and to keep choosing each other, no matter how loud the world became.